What is up, everybody? How is everyone doing tonight? I hope we are all. Whoa. Sorry, getting a whole bunch of texts. Holy crap, buddy. What's up? I hope everyone's having a great night. Yeah, night, 7:30. Great week. It's Thursday night. There's one more day. One more day until Friday. We are so close. We're a wake up away from the weekend. Hope everyone's having a great time. How is everybody? Yes, Breezy. No, this is not the first one. This is the fourth, legally speaking. Tonight, we are talking about everything going on in LA, Disney and Universal suing Midjourney, which is big. We're talking possibly one of the first landmark Supreme Court cases we could see in the last 30 years, maybe. And then, of course, is Letitia James going to prison? She might be. Comic Stat can't stay long. He's got his own little stream to go do. I hope he loves that. Has a lot of fun over there. It is a heck of a time. Breezy, everything is going pretty great. And Lily, how are you doing? Okay, so the first thing, I'll tell y'all what, had I been paying a little more attention, there would have been some different topics up on this title. What's up, Mash? How you doing? So just a quick little news. So there's two pretty big hearings going on today. There is a hearing going on in Texas, I believe, on whether or not the deportation of a specific family, of the family of Mohammed Salman, I believe he's the Colorado guy, whether or not the deportation of his family is legal. Or actually, I don't think whether it's legal, whether it's been handled correctly. And then, of course, anyone that's watched the videos knows that Gavin Newsom has sued Donald Trump twice in this past week. He sued to enjoin to put a temporary restraining order on the deployment of the National Guard, and he sued to, I believe, also put a temporary restraining order, or TRO, on the deployment of the Marines. And that hearing, so there was originally supposed to be a hearing on the 9th. What is that, Monday? On Monday. But Judge Breyer, who is the brother of former Supreme Court Justice Breyer, Stephen Breyer, has decided to not have an actual hearing and requested that both sides submit memorandums, basically explaining their side and their argument. He started the hearing today, basically thanking both sides for submitting detailed memorandums. So that's good. He was in an amenable mood. Kings has such a fancy shirt. No, this is my judge's robe. It's a Henley underneath it. And the judge, I definitely think the judge has been a little bit biased. I wasn't able to watch, but I've been reading tweets from other people that are talking about what was going on and what the judge was saying and stuff like that. He's definitely put a lot of questions towards the Justice Department's attorney. But he did, at the end, give a question to California's. Who is representing California in this? Let's see. I don't see anyone. I don't see this guy, so I'm kind of just following what the chief writer over at Politico is saying, senior legal affairs reporter for Politico. His is just the thing that I'm pretty sure he's in the room, so that's the one that I've been able to follow, and he definitely seems to be suggesting that this judge is swinging towards California's way. But at the end of the day, I do, for the most part, trust judges. I think what he's going to do, what this judge is probably going to do, is, well, actually, let me get to that later. So there's a whole bunch of back and forth going. Okay, well, what do you think about this? What about this? What about this? What about this? And that's kind of the way this goes. This isn't like trial court. This isn't Law and Order or Suits or The Practice. The attorneys don't get up there and just start the long ass speech. They've already presented memorandum to the judge or justice, and they're supposed to have read it or at least received information on what it is from, or what the arguments are from their clerks. And so the judges basically show up with a list of questions, and they'll just, the second the attorney starts talking, they'll just start pelting them with questions, asking, okay, well, what about this? What about this? What about this? One of the questions Breyer asked was, how is that different than what a monarchist does? He says certain things, he finds certain things, he does certain things. That's not where we live. We live in response to a monarchy. The Constitution is a document of limitations. And that was in response to Breyer. So the DOJ attorney, Brad Schumann, said the governor is a conduit, because Breyer asked, well, don't you have to go through the governor? Like, that's part of what the law says, you through the governor. And the DOJ attorney said the governor is a conduit, not someone who has a role in the decision. And so his argument is that there isn't this exact placement for the governor in the role of laying out the National Guard. Wicked Raid, Wicked, you are too nice to me. What's up, Hokies, Psychotic Mongoose, everyone that's going to be lurking? What's up, guys? Welcome back. We're talking about the hearing today that took place just about 3 hours ago, I believe, in California, in San Francisco, on whether or not Donald Trump erred in federalizing the National Guard in California and sending them in. So, what's up, Market Reality? Debbie, the girl from Land Down Under. Jonathan, how are y'all doing? C&D, what's up? So, the argument here, and so as we're going through this, the Breyer, who, like I said earlier, is the brother of former Supreme Court Justice Stephen Breyer, is basically trying to figure out whether or not he's going to side with California or with Donald Trump and the Justice Department. So we're at the point where the judge is basically asking question after question after question, which starts relatively early in these things. And so he's gotten to the point where he's asking about why is Trump's federalizing of the Guard not a violation when he didn't get the permission of the governor. And the Justice Department lawyer, Brad Shoemate, has said that the governor is not part of the process. He's a conduit. So he's basically supposed to pass the order on. He's not supposed to be a decision maker in it. And honestly, I think that argument works in this case. But if you were to take that argument, if you were to go to any of the past times we've seen the National Guard federalized and remove the governor from it, it doesn't work, because in a lot of those other cases, the National Guard is actually engaging in police actions. And In this case, they're not. And this is where I think it's going to, this entire case is going to hedge on, is what is the National Guard doing? So we've seen a bunch of videos. We've seen a bunch of pictures. I made a video yesterday. It came out, I think, around noon yesterday. I think it was the noon video about what the National Guard was doing. And there's a bunch of photos that really show the National Guard is only protecting ICE agents and protecting federal property, which they are allowed to do without the president invoking the Insurrectionist Act. So that's what I think we're going to end up on. I think a lot of this is going to end up being decided by just what the National Guard does. I think that the judge is probably going to side with Trump, but put some sort of limitation out there. And I'm not really sure how he would. But I think what it's going to be is it's going to be sort of a siding with an admonishment, where he says, I am denying Gavin Newsom's TRO, but warning the administration that should the National Guard actually participate in police actions, then I will approve a TRO. All right, I gotta scroll back up here. A whole bunch of comments. Marvel Pura says the Andor loving Disney shills are comparing SoCal riots to the fake. I did. I saw that. Really dumb. And then Mark Reality, good old Mark Reality, asked, did you see Senator Padilla go at Kristi Noem and get put in handcuffs? I did. And honestly, I have mixed feelings about it, mixed reactions. I definitely think it's hilarious. If anyone is unaware of what he is talking about, Senator Padilla from California, I believe, and he's a United States senator too. He's not just some state senator. I don't know if I would say rushed the stage, but Kristi Noem, Secretary of Department of Homeland Security, was giving what was it? I guess it was a press conference. And Senator Padilla goes in there and really starts walking forward. He didn't really like, from all the video I could see, but a lot of it. Oh, hang on, So a lot of the video that I've been able to find really just kind of has him like walking towards her, and then getting sort of manhandled by police, and I'm going to assume probably some sort of federal agents, maybe some FBI or something like that. And he ended up getting arrested, and the whole thing is weird. So one of the reasons it's weird is he gets up there, and as he's being taken out of the room, he starts saying, I'm Senator Padilla, I'm Senator Padilla. And the problem is, and this is one of the reasons why they have him, he's not wearing his senator pin. And it's one of the ways to identify them quickly. And then at that point, you kind of treat them with more kid gloves, and you're probably a little nicer. But I don't know. The whole thing is weird. It doesn't necessarily. It definitely feels like an attempt to become the new leader of the Democratic Party. Jace talked about it a bunch, but yeah, every single time one of these people speak out that we've never heard of before, it's their attempt to grab the headlines and see how long their moment in the sun takes. The judge is a Democrat judge. He's a Clinton appointee. But I took a very quick look at like voting records, stuff like that, and he's a relatively fair judge. I couldn't really find anything that was extremely partisan, or at least that looked extremely partisan. But again, I spent like 2 minutes looking through his record. Mark Reality says, we're getting real close to invoking the Insurrectionist Act. Remember that the executive branch has the power to interpret the Constitution just as much as the judiciary does. Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be wild. Um, the thing that's funny is this judge Breyer are towards the end, as they were getting to the question of the Marines, he pretty clearly says, "Look, I don't think this issue is ripe. I don't think I can make a ruling on this because the Marines aren't there yet. So there's nothing to actually rule on." So I know judges can be really picky, and I would imagine Newsom trying to sneak that in probably annoyed him a bit. So we'll see if that's enough annoyance to get him to completely back Trump. Like I said, I think it's just going to be a case of um, you're okay, but if they do this, we're getting you. Okay. I guess you're probably supposed to be able to do this while you talk as well, aren't you? Okay, there we go. Senator Alex Padilla gets arrested. What's up, Wicked? Thank you so much for the raid. How you doing, Jay? And yes, court is in session. That is a lovely profile picture. And yeah, no, I agree. It definitely seems like it was a setup to get arrested, get his name in the paper again. Because again, he is the fourth California elected official to have some sort of problem go through Twitter. His just happens to be a whole lot more newsworthy. Maxine Waters getting refused entry and Jimmy Gomez being refused entry to a prison is not very noteworthy, especially when they've been complaining about it for 6 months now. Yes, Jay, I'd love some. All the news footage I can find is like we've got this, but the problem is this is kind of after it started. This is from lovely NBC. Where I'm gonna keep it muted. Padilla is right behind this guy in the green, and he's already kind of being withheld. Now, this I definitely think this is an issue. I think Padilla, if Padilla had just said, "Okay, I'm gone, sorry," I don't think he gets arrested or anything. But he really starts trying to get there and start charging. And I think that's going to be a real issue. Again, there's 100 senators. Most people are probably going to recognize them, and I don't know how long Padilla has been a senator. So he's been a senator for 4 years. So he's a first term senator. So it's a very decent chance that just a random FBI attorney or FBI agent isn't going to notice or realize who he is. Let's see. Oh, this might be much better. Hang on. Yeah. So this is the problem. Is this whole thing is supposed to be just like a interview to a press conference to basically talk about what's going on in California, and he interrupts the entire thing. And what they have tried to I don't know what you insist on exaggerated and embellishing. Hands up. Also, I want to talk Senator Alex Padilla. I have a question for the secretary, because the fact of the matter is, I have a dozen violent criminals that you're rotating on your. I also want to talk about this. Yeah, so again, you interrupt the secretary. This is the issue: is you've got a bunch of senators and representatives who think their ability to check the executive gives them carte blanche to just do whatever they want, and it doesn't. You know what his ability to check Kristi Noem on this is? To hold a hearing. That's his ability. Not interrupt her press conference. And then, as we kind of saw from the other video, try to force his way into the main section. It's crazy. And yeah, market reality. The legal definition of assault is the reasonable apprehension of a battery. I think this admits that definition, and the grand jury needs to watch these. So, are you thinking that he was assaulted, or that it's assault on Kristi Noem? Because I definitely don't think it's an assault on Kristi Noem. It definitely doesn't meet the legal definition of assault. She has zero reaction to it. Or the civil definition, I should say. So there's criminal assault, and then there's civil assault. And civil assault is sort of like if you and I are walking down the road and I look at you and try to punch you and you freak out. If you react to it, that it is assault. Civil assault is, if I remember the definition, noticeable apprehension of contact, basically, and then battery is quite literally just unwanted contact. So if I were just walking down the street with you and I tap you on the shoulder, that is, and you don't want me to tap you on the shoulder, that is technically battery. But I saw you say something earlier, Mark. Yeah, so Jonathan, this is another thing. So in 65, the governor of Arkansas did not want to segregate his schools. And so was it LBJ? I thought it was it JFK that sent there's several of them. JFK, National Guard, Arkansas. Yeah, so there's been two of them. The JFK, and then one of them was LBJ. They both federalized the state's National Guard and required the segregation of a school that the governor wasn't allowing to happen. JFK's was, I think, the very young girl, like the 5-year-old that in Little Rock that the governor wouldn't allow in, I believe, is that one. And then LBJ's, I think, was a college. I don't remember, though. And yes, nobody is above the law. But yeah, this whole thing, I think this is wild. I would love to see him get arrested for assault. The problem is this would be the third Democratic lawmaker arrested, and I would be very scared that people would start to think that there might be some truth to the idea that Trump's trying to just arrest his political opponents. Because, and the issue is, it would look like that because we've gotten to the point where lawmakers don't get punished for what they do. We've got Nancy Pelosi, who has quite literally committed insider trading, and nothing happens because she's Speaker Pelosi. Which, by the way, I loved this. I saw this the other day. This is Nancy Pelosi's Twitter account. Does anybody want to guess what is wrong here? And I'll give y'all a couple of seconds while I check to see if there's an update on the case with Judge Breyer. No, Lily, that is not the case. Unfortunately, the case is that her Twitter handle is still Speaker Pelosi. She hasn't been Speaker for 3 years. She hasn't been speaker since the midterms. Who does she think she is? So one of the things that Breyer did say is that he expects his order to be complied with. So this seems like a kind of an attack on Trump for not complying with some of these orders that the Supreme Court and other judges have handed down. That's interesting. Skeletor's mother. That's hilarious. So the other thing that kind of came out of this attack is Kristi Noem goes and she had a meeting with Padilla for like 15 to 20 minutes after this whole thing. He's no longer in custody. The Senate put out his group of people put out a statement saying that he's no longer in custody. Let's see if I can find that. And of course, and Jay, I'm so happy you like this because I got to see it. We got to see Representative Jamie Raskin, Maryland's 8th congressional district, and leading House Judiciary Committee Democrats in Congress. So he marched with somebody to go demand Senator Thune basically tell people to stop arresting senators. Oh, where is this thing? And of course, Nancy Mace said something about it. Pam Bondi has terrible BO, by the way. Well, I don't know about that. Look, this is the issue that I think the Donald Trump Justice Department is having. Is I think both they and a lot of other people thought that while Biden's Justice Department weren't actually going after anyone, they were doing their job. And what I say their job, part of their job. And what I mean is that let's take Epstein, for example. YouTube's going to love this. So part of the job of both the Trump and the Biden Justice Departments were to investigate basically the island, Giselle Maxwell, all that stuff. Well, it looks like what happened after Biden took over was basically he stopped all of that, or the auto pen stopped it, or his wife stopped it. Someone stopped it, and then they never picked it back up. Like everything just went cold, and this is for all that stuff. And so now Patel and Bondi and any of these other people, when they're not on television, are having to go and basically start from scratch. So I'm not totally surprised that we haven't gotten anything else, but I will 100% agree that some of these people need to get off fucking TV. Like, I understand going on Fox News 2-3 times, but we've seen the Attorney General on Fox News like 25 times in the last 3 months. That's too much. Eric Holder didn't even go on NBC that much, and he was one of the most corrupt AGs I've ever seen in office. So my hopes is that what we see in the coming months, starting probably about near the end of the summer, is going to be a slew of actual results from the from these quote unquote investigations. Ray stopped it. Bondi et al. Have been finding evidence here and there. Yes, and so that's another thing. So they get there and they find out, okay, there's this amount of stuff right here. They go through, they start putting it together, they start saying, okay, this is the stuff we can release. Now we have to go through and remove victim identifications, personal information, stuff like that, because they're not, that was one of the complaints in that first round of releases, that they blacked out a bunch of stuff. Well, let's say John Doe is one of the people in Epstein's Black Book. They're not going to release John Doe's phone number because they don't want, nobody wants 5,000 people calling John Doe and saying, hey, I hear you on Epstein's Island. So they're just not going to release that. There are also evidentiary rules where you can't release stuff like that. And then there's court orders as well. So then you've got, they release that stuff. And then the day before they release it, Pam Bondi finds out, oh, there's like 1 million more pages of stuff hidden somewhere in New York. And that's when, she had approached Kash Patel, said, I just found out about this. Get your house in order. What the hell is going on? And then they do like a joint announcement where, hey, this stuff is coming. We have to go through it now. And it was so much stuff that they're still apparently going through it. The problem is, and I think it's the problem that a lot of people have, they still continue to go on television and talk about, oh, we're doing this and we're doing this. And it's like, well, that's great. Good job. Why aren't you doing the thing we voted you in to do? How many people, like, think about this. Thousands of people hundreds of thousands probably, called their senators to make sure that Pam Bondi was actually confirmed by the U.S. Senate. And now we have to see her on Fox News every night. Now, the AG is not going to spend her day combing through evidence. That's not her job. The AG's job is a political appointment. Same with the IRS guy that just got confirmed today. Same with Pete Hegseth. I mean, Pete Hegseth's job is a little bit different. It's a little more less of a political position and more of a actually do it position. But a lot of these people, their jobs are really just to kind of play politics. And I think the problem is she seems to really only want to play politics on television. At least with Kash Patel, we see, we actually see results. He tweets all these results about the FBI has just arrested 300 child traffickers. They've just done this. They've just done this. They've just done this. They just arrested 2 Chinese nationals for trying to enter the U.S. with biological agents. So we're actually seeing results there. I genuinely think that's one of the reasons why you don't hear nearly as many people yelling about Patel as you do Pam Bondi. And Lily is correct. That binder thing was disgusting and dumb as hell. Okay. We will jump back to the political stuff and this Trump decision as soon as I get more news about it. I'm going to go over to the Twitter page that I have been following to try to see if there's any news. Isn't so. I'm going to keep that refreshed. Big case coming. We're not going to go through this whole thing because this whole thing is 111 pages. But, and I just thought about this, so give me a second. Gina Carano versus Disney. I want to get the court filings. See, this is one of the reasons why it would be nice to have my damn thing called? I don't remember. It's the website that has like all the legal cases on it. You know what I'm talking about, Mark Reality. Where is this lawsuit? Here we go. Forms. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to figure out who the attorneys for Disney are on this case. No, not Fine Law. Fine Law is not back though, and LexisNexis is legit. I used LexisNexis throughout law school. I thought it was way better than Westlaw. Pacer, that's what I'm thinking of. Here we go. Okay, so the reason I wanted to see this, oh damn it, these are Gina's lawyers. Motion to dismiss. I bet y'all are so entertained by all this, aren't you? On Tuesday night, dismiss. This might get it to me. Dude, I used to work for Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe. Hang on. Oh, is this it? I might have it. I might have it. Yes. Okay. All right. So the reason I'm curious to see whether or not Disney is using. Damn it! This is the judge's order. Screw it. I'm over it. Okay. Yeah, Pacer's 15 cents a page, but I think it's 15 cents a page to print. I don't think it's 15 cents a page just to look through. Well, thank you, Purist. I love that. Jay, if you're still here, if you've got Disney's motion to dismiss, if you can just tell me like who Disney's attorneys were, that'd be super cool. If anyone else has it, I could have sworn I did, but I guess I don't. Thanks, bud. Yeah, screw it. So, United States District Court, Central District, California. Again, let's pull up the map. California judicial districts. Because again, his lovely self, Gavin Newsom. And so that's the other thing. I still don't know why Gavin Newsom, and I tried looking. I couldn't find a reason why Gavin Newsom filed his lawsuit in the Northern District of California. Because let's look at this real quick, guys. So you've got Sacramento right here in the Eastern District, which is where Gavin Newsom sits as the governor. You've got LA down here in the Central District. These are the two districts that are proper for venue. Yet he filed over here in San Francisco. I don't understand why. And I've looked. I can't find a decent reason. Mark Reality, if you've got a good reason, let me know. But I have not found one. So this is the complaint for direct copyright infringement and secondary copyright infringement, and they demand a jury trial. And so Judge Shelby could be it, but like, why didn't Trump or why didn't the DOJ make a motion to move the hearing? It shouldn't happen in the Northern District. It should happen in the Eastern or the Central. So Disney, along with Universal, have sued Midjourney Incorporated. Midjourney is the AI art system that everybody uses. Wicked, do you use Midjourney to do your thumbnails? So a little bit of, let me scroll back up to this. So a little bit of historical context, let's call it. Obviously, we're all pretty well aware that AI really kind of started becoming a thing about 2 years ago. And 2 years ago is when the first court cases started coming out for this. And the most significant one, and I've got it here, is Thaler v. Perlmutter. And that was the one where Stephen Thaler's AI system basically started spitting out a bunch of art, and he tried to get it copyrighted. And the U.S. Copyright Office said, no, we're not going to copyright that. And they've held, both the Supreme Court has held several times now, and the Copyright Office has said that in order to gain copyright status on a AI image, that there had to be, let's see, where was I want to get a significant creative element from a human, that a human author had to contribute significantly to the creative element. And that going into Midjourney or going into Grok or ChatGPT and just typing out what are they called? Prompt was not a significant human element of it. And what they basically said, what you would have to do is, let's pretend this thing right here, my little box here, is the generated image. What you'd have to do is say, okay, so I'm going to take that image, then I'm going to move him here. I'm going to move this thing over here. I'm going to move this thing that was here down here now. And I'm going to do all of these little things that actually make the image what you want to make it. It's a very similar example of what. Holy fuck. Hang on, guys. Holy shit. So, thank you, Jay. Israel just started striking Iran. We better hope that Trump and Hesketh are serious about not getting into another war, because this could be bad. Everyone get ready. Back to the thing that no longer matters anymore, because we'll all be dead in 2 years. Where was I? Oh, yeah, it's a very similar thing to one of the first copyright cases that involved a photograph of Oscar Wilde. and the photograph was taken by John, let's say, and then James decided to make a bunch of lithographs of it, which are basically, if I remember correctly, they are prints that are stamped out on stencils using copper, I believe. I don't remember if that's exactly what it is, but that's what happened. And the photographer decided to sue the person making money off of the prints, saying this is my copyrighted work. And it's if I believe correctly, the first instance of a photograph receiving copyright, being copyrighted. And the Supreme Court said that the amount of effort and the amount of stuff that the photographer did, not just posing Oscar Wilde, but deciding in what direction the light was going to be coming from, where he was going to set up the camera, all that stuff created a human element that added to the picture more than just a copy of what Oscar Wilde looked like. So that's the model that the Copyright Office has upheld. Yeah, look, C&D, it is a lot to say that, but back it up and I'll believe him. So let's just pause for a second and talk about how hilarious it is that C&D Design's profile picture is a Darth Vader, and that's what's created this lawsuit is AI pictures of Darth Vader. So obviously they've demanded a jury trial, and the thing that is very, I think, concerning about this, I think this could go badly for them, and badly or good for them. So I think it would be bad because you're expecting 12 or 6 or 8, depending on what California's rules are. You expect them to understand copyright law, which, while it's not like incredibly difficult to understand, I mean, even I understand it. You not only are expecting them to understand copyright and uphold it, but you're also expecting them to want to side with Disney, Universal, and you're going to probably what they're going to do is they're going to show some pretty cool ass pictures of stuff and you're going to want these people to go, no, that's bad. I think that's a poor idea. I think you're much better going with a judge. I mean, Mark Reality, that's 100%. In fact, let's go ahead and refresh and see if an update has come out. Because I mean, it's getting close. It's 5:21 over there. They if he was going to decide today, he would have decided by now, don't you think? I don't have anything. Let's see if Judge Breyer brings up anything. See, this is the big thing. This is what, if this happens and he sides with Trump, this is going to be, I think, all anyone talks about for a while. Still hasn't made a ruling. Okay. Well, I'll keep looking at it. So let's go through this real quick. I don't really care about introduction. All they're going to do in this is kind of talk about the history of Disney, the history of Universal, how it's their stuff that has entertained us for 100 years, not this AI stuff. This AI stuff is just stealing everything. This is something that what's his face might want to talk about. Let's see. Midjourney's infringement is calculated and willful. Plaintiffs have asked Midjourney to stop infringing their copyrighted works, at a minimum to adopt technological measures, which other AI services have implemented to prevent the generation of infringing material. But Midjourney, which has attracted millions of subscribers and made 300 million last year alone, is focused on its bottom line and ignored plaintiffs' demands. Okay, so let's see if that's true. You know, the very first thing, and if I was the judge's clerks, this is the very first thing I would do. I would come over here to Grok. And I would go because they're basically saying that Grok has agreed to do this. Make me an image of Darth Vader from Star Wars. Well, who do we want him to attack? Attacking Barack Obama. This could be bad, couldn't it? Okay, I'm just going to stop sharing for a second, just because I'm slightly concerned of what it could kick out. Oh, shit, this is hilarious. So, I would say that is definitely Darth Vader. There isn't anything to make me think that's anybody but Darth Vader. Oh my god, he's killing Obama in this. Holy shit. That's so cool. This AI shit is awesome. Instead, Midjourney has chosen. So this is already number 3 is a lie. Other services have not implemented, or at least Grok has not implemented something to prevent you from being able to make an image of Darth Vader. Instead, Midjourney has chosen to double down. Oh, this and teasing its soon to be released commercial AI video. So I wonder if this is the reason. This is probably the reason that they've done this. They are genuinely concerned, especially with this rise, like the last week and a half of these AI videos. There's a really cool one if you haven't seen it yet on the History of Pirates channel with about a pirate just saying, "So you want to learn about the history of pirates? You should definitely check it out." Got you, Jay. I'll bet you that's the reason. Slated should be featuring Disney and Universal copyrighted characters. Midjourney has already begun training its video service, meaning that Midjourney is very likely already infringing plaintiff's copyrighted works in connection with its video service. So this can't be true. You cannot infringe on a copyright without producing something. So if, let's say, Midjourney is uploading all of Star Wars into its video editing software or its video learning software, they haven't infringed on anything yet. It's not until someone puts in that prompt, makes the video of Darth Vader, that they have infringed on Darth Vader's copyright. Disney's Buzz Lightyear. I love Buzz Lightyear. I'm just curious. Where is our dude? That's a cool picture. I want to see their claims. Don't care about jurisdiction and venue. Yes, that's true. That's true. It's also true. Yes. Yes. Uh-huh. I'll tell you, this is kind of why I didn't want to go through the entire thing. There's 111 pages. Let's see. Okay, this is the more important thing. Isn't there an old video of Batman versus Darth Vader? Probably. Midjourney was founded in 2021 by David Holes. 200 million last year, 300 million this year. Midjourney first launched its image service in February of 2022 as a bot accessible within Discord. Yes, and a lot of people we know have used it. Since then, Midjourney's released various versions of its image service. Midjourney began to offer its image service to consumers via its own website, midjourney.com, in or around October 23rd. Originally, the website was only open to Midjourney customers who had used its image service via the Discord platform. All subscribers, holy shit. Can you imagine paying $120 a month? Let's see. Don't care. Also, does anyone else think that this is a lie? Unbeknownst to plaintiffs, meaning Disney and Universal did not know about Midjourney's launch. You really think that they weren't aware that a platform where you could make whatever image you wanted was launching? That seems like a lie to me. What? Are we missing images here? Oh, okay. Here we go. Midjourney consistently and accurately reproduces publicly displays and distributes copies and derivatives of characters from Disney's Star Wars franchise to its subscribers. In response to the simple request, often referred to as a prompt, asking to see Yoda with lightsabers, IMAX, Midjourney accessed the data about Disney's copyrighted works that is stored by the image service and then reproduced, publicly displayed, and made available for download further copies of Disney's Yoda as shown in this screenshot. So they use a word in here that I want to explain: derivatives. So a derivative work is basically when you take a bunch of copyrighted things and make another work. Thumbnails are a great example of derivative works. You can gain a copyright for a derivative work, but it is always subservient to the original copyrights, and it's not as valued. So, let's say, let's pull up one of my derivative works. I want to use one of my cooler derivative works. There we go. Okay, so this is an example of a derivative work. How do I do this? Present. That's dumb. So this was a thumbnail I did for a video about one of the lawsuits. And each of these three images, the Gavin Newsom, the National Guard, and the Donald Trump, they each have their own copyright. Someone owns the copyright to this picture of Gavin Newsom, someone owns the copyright to this picture of the National Guard, and someone owns the copyright to the picture of Donald Trump. But by combining all three, I have created a new image that I now own the copyright to. Now, I haven't filed for a copyright for it because I'm not going to file for a copyright for a thumbnail. But if someone were to go on to screenshot this stream or to go to YouTube and screenshot the video and take the thumbnail, I can do something about that. I can say, hold up now, that image you're using is my image. Now, the person that has that owns the copyright to the picture of Gavin Newsom, they could definitely say, hang on a second, Caleb, you you have infringed upon my copyright. You are using my copyright to make money. Now, my best argument right now is no, I'm not. I don't make any money off of the King's Court yet, hopefully. But let's fast forward 3 years. I've got 1 billion subscribers. I'm the most popular YouTuber in the world. Yeah, bullshit. Then someone can come up and say, hang on a second, you're making money off of these images. These are my images. You have to either gain a license to use them or you have to cut me in. Well, I could come back with, no, this is the derivative work. It's not your image I'm profiting off of. It's the image that I have created by using your image. Well, that's a defense for copyright infringement. Okay. Can you tell that I wanted to do intellectual property when I was in law school? In response to the prompt, Stormtroopers battle scene movie still screen cap. Okay. Okay. So these are really just examples of what they're claiming. I'm very curious what they're going to ask for, what relief they want. So this is why it's 111 pages, guys, because half of it is just images that take up almost the entire screen. Wow. See, so this, and Jay was talking about this earlier, this morning on Welcome to the Rebellion. The big issue that people are going to are currently probably having is, like Hokies brought up, fair use. So how do we define fair use for a copyrighted image? Well, one example would be my thumbnail. I'm allowed to use a copyrighted image if A, I'm not making money off of it, or I'm using it in a sense of parody. That's one of the ways you get around a lot of copyright parody. But what you're not allowed to do, and if anyone has ever gone to a football game, to a major football game, you all see them. You walk out of the stadium, and they all have 1,000 white T-shirts that they have made. They have printed the. For example, I'll use South Carolina, the University of South Carolina, for example, because when I would walk out of the stadium, I would always see a bunch of people at the gates with a bunch of T-shirts that basically had the copyrighted and trademarked Block C for South Carolina versus whoever they were playing. And it would always say, like, win or beat the Tigers or something like that. And you're using copyrighted material. Now, in some cases, what the smart people do is they'll take, instead of using USC's logos and stuff like that, they'll write Carolina instead. You can't copyright Carolina. You just can't. It's not unique enough to copyright it. You can't trademark it. It's not unique enough to trademark. And then they'll write beats the Tigers. You can't copyright the Tigers. It's not unique enough to trademark. So that's one of the ways they get around it. The problem is when you get images like this, which are clearly, obviously, with the exception of whatever the hell this is, which are very clearly what the copyrighted image is. So in that case, these people are absolutely committing copyright infringement, especially if they sell it. Now, in my opinion, at least, if I go to Midjourney and I say, make me an image of Thanos beating the crap out of Brie Larson's Captain Marvel, there's no issue on my part. I have not committed the copyright infringement because I'm not going to make money off of that. But what about the people that do? Let's see. Star Wars Marvel Pure says, if I was the judge, I'd be disgusted to look at all these fake Star Wars in this filing. Oh no, you spelled "oh no" wrong. Shill is running around with fake pictures of Jake Skywalker. Hoagie's asked, how does YouTube get away with deciding what is or is not fair use? They will let a copyright holder take down a video or monetize it despite a claim of fair use. So fair use is sort of like pornography. You know it when you see it. So as I understand the way that YouTube does things, YouTube does not review every single case. Now, I think if you file an actual appeal, then those go to actual people. But if you just, I think I've got one on King's Advisors. I played a bunch of trailers and I got a copyright claim. If I argue that's fair use, well, it's not. It's just not fair use the way I do it. I'm not adding meaning to it. I'm not what's the word? Mark reality. What's the word for when you change the meaning of a copyrighted thing? Copyrighted. Oh, this is gonna kill me. I'll figure it out later. I'll tweet it. Follow me on Twitter, KingsAdvisors _ I want to see what what their request for. Jeez. So the first claimant for relief is from pages 1 to 200. Midjourney has directly infringed upon plaintiff's copyrighted works. Each item of infringement by Midjourney constitutes a separate and distinct act of infringement. Jeez. As a direct approximate result of Midjourney's infringement, plaintiffs are entitled to damages and Midjourney's profits in an amount according to proof. So they're coming for all the money. That's how they're going to make up all the money for all the money they've lost in their movies. They're going to sue Midjourney and all the AI companies to take their money. Alternatively, at the election, plaintiffs are entitled to statutory damages up to $150,000 per work. Plaintiffs are further entitled to recover their attorney's fees and full costs. Here we go. Press for relief. Transformative. Yes, Star Wars Marvel purist. Thank you. For plaintiff's damages and Midjourney's profits in such amount as may be found alternatively at plaintiff's election for maximum statutory damages. For an accounting, the imposition of constructive trust, restitution of Midjourney's unlawful proceeds from copyright infringement, and damages according to proof. They want all the money. That's what it's going to be. For preliminary or permanent injunctive relief, enjoining and restraining Midjourney and all of its officers, agents, servants, and employees, and all persons acting in concert or in participation with Midjourney from A, infringing on our copyrights, B, offering its image service without appropriate copyright protection measures to prevent such infringement, C, offering its forthcoming video without the same, and D, otherwise engaging in the copyright infringement conduct described above. Holy crap. That is so this, but see, so this is my issue, and let's refresh Judge Breyer real quick, see if we've got any this is pathetic. So Israel has just bombed Iran, and the top 2 trending topics in the United States are Taylor and Travis Kelce. Okay, any news? 2 hours ago, 4 hours ago, 3 hours ago. Nope, doesn't look like we're going to get a decision tonight. I mean, we could get a midnight decision, but I find it highly unlikely that we end up that he makes some decision tonight. I think this is going to be a tomorrow morning issue. But see, so this is my issue. Let's rewind to this a little bit. You've got you. It is now Thursday. You know, they've been riots in LA for a week now, and the judge is going to make a decision to pull or whether or not the National Guard is going to have to leave federal property in California or in LA. And we're deciding this after a week. What happened in LA today? I feel like I didn't see almost any stories or anything. Because look, here's the deal. Had everything just been 100,000 people marching down the street, nothing would have happened. There would not have been any arrests. There would not have been any need to federalize the National Guard. ICE would have been able to do their job. There wouldn't have been anything. But because there weren't because there wasn't peacefulness in accordance with Edwards v. South Carolina, which if you watched my video, you already know about, then that's why the National Guard had to be called in. Because, well, first off, because ICE wasn't being protected. And we already talked about the fact that ICE had to spend an hour being surrounded by people before the LAPD even showed up. And then the LAPD didn't do anything for like 3 hours. So that's where a lot of the damage comes from. Let's see. I'm really disappointed. I was really hoping. What happened to the Wemos will be why the robots revolt and kill us all. No, they'll only go after the people that killed the Wemos. Those are the cars that all of the that the rioters were blowing up and burning and destroying. Okay, so I normally I would have done this by now, but I was kind of on a roll. Anybody got any questions? Any topics anyone wants to discuss or anything like that? See if we got any news on Alex Padilla. Yep. Oh, Jonathan, we've been talking about this for a week. But again, that's what's so dumb about this is because once again, we have the receipts. Like we have proof positive that the riots were not about the National Guard and were actually about ICE doing their job. Ooh, let's see what Big Rob said. Oh no, I didn't watch Newsom's speech. I did hear that he went live and was mute for the first 5 minutes. So this is what Senator Padilla said. I was in the federal building in LA today to meet with federal officials as part of my job to provide oversight and accountability to the administration. While I was waiting for a scheduled briefing with General Giat, I learned that Secretary Nolan was having a press conference just down the hall. We've repeatedly asked the Trump administration for answers on the deployment of military forces and the needless escalation in Los Angeles over the last week, and have gotten limited to no information. I attended Secretary Noem's press conference in hopes of getting some answers. After identifying myself and trying to ask a question, I was aggressively pushed out of the room, forced to the ground, and handcuffed. If that's what they do to a United States Senator with a question, imagine what they can do to any American that dares to speak up. We will hold this administration accountable. So here's the problem. We all saw the videos. We all saw at least, the last 35 seconds of it. Again, no one filmed the first 20 seconds of it because there was no reason to, because nothing was happening. But he doesn't start claiming to be a senator until after he's being pushed out of the room. And no one's going to just stop pushing someone that just kind of starts walking towards someone that's literally like sixth in line. Oh, sorry, no, she's DHS, not Secretary of Defense. So DHS, I think, is second or third last in line for the presidency. But no one's going to stop protecting the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security just because you say you're a senator. What if you're lying? You're not. He wasn't even wearing his pin. And I'm the Chief Justice of the United States of America. They're saying that it was not an immigration raid, but cartel money law. Hokies, I need this story. What is this? So yeah, this entire thing is ridiculous. And like I said at the beginning, this is just an attempt for Padilla to have his 15 minutes of fame. There's no reason for him to have been nearly as violent as he was. And he wasn't really even that violent. But for him to just continually try to push to get to Kristi Noem is ridiculous. And he knew what was going to happen. He knew that he was going to get in trouble for that. Let's see if we've got anything else from anyone on Padilla. So this is actually the video I saw. I canalist eventually. We're gonna get I'm gonna get a judge's wig eventually. I gotta figure out which one I want, and then I think maybe we do it on the first monetized stream. So we're at 163. If you're not already sub, guys, click that sub button. Let's get to 500. Come on, we're a third of the way there. We're almost a third of the way there. Okay, so this is the other video. This is the video that I originally saw for what was going on.
Hands up, hands up. I'm Senator Alex Padilla. I have questions for the secretary.
You don't get
the
to.
Fact of the matter is, a half a dozen violent criminals that you're rotating on your hands off.
So this is my question for y'all. Okay. So this guy is the only one pushing against him. FBI agent, most likely, could be state trooper, but I think he's most likely an FBI agent. Padilla has got probably 30 pounds and maybe a foot on him. And Padilla is just getting
the secretary
completely demolished. Like, how pathetic is this? You really have questions that you need asked. You can't push by this short king. Like, that's pretty pathetic, right? I mean, it's not just me. Okay. He's to. Oh yeah, he's too full of soy. Absolutely. Sorry, I'm just looking through something else because I think we're gonna move on unless I get any updates on um Judge Breyer. And it doesn't, like I said earlier, it doesn't look like it's going to happen tonight, which is really upsetting because that would have been the piece de resistance. Maybe it'll happen tomorrow morning during Welcome to the Rebellion. I'll try to make sure Jay is aware to keep looking at this. The way he talks and behaves makes him sound like he's too desperate to get to her. There's no way they trust what he. Yeah, he sounds crazy in that video. Like I would never let someone that close to someone that sounded that crazy. Bad idea. Also, again, I will reiterate, your job of oversight does not extend to being able to step into a press conference and interrupt the Secretary of Homeland Security just to get your stupid question about your illegal alien voters that we're kicking out of the country. You don't get to do that. You don't get to sit there and say, you're removing everyone that voted for me, so I need to stop this. That doesn't happen anymore. This is not the Biden administration anymore. This is the Trump DOJ and Trump's Department of Homeland Security. They have made it clear. The illegals are gone. I'll tell you what, they started moving on to the normal ones a lot quicker than I thought they would. Oh, how about this one? Oh my gosh, this one blew my mind. I don't know if Google will give me or Twitter will give me this. So this is February 21st. Yeah, how about this one? Oh, I should make a short of this and play Bad Boys, Bad Boys.
Because we had a chance to talk to.
I don't really care what they have to say, but I shows up, Border Patrol, whoever it is, and starts running. They're chasing this guy down, and of course, I'm scared of what's going to pop up, but let me stop sharing for just a sec while I find this. I should Google this instead. Yeah. Farmers Association. Did y'all see the tweet from, I think it was the California Farmers Association or something like that? Dude, I'm definitely going to use that. Here we go. I think this is it. The United Farm Workers. Again, another union. This week, chaotic federal immigration sweeps occurred in fields across California, including Ventura, Kern, and Tulare counties. You may have seen videos of agents chasing farm workers through the field. Workers are terrorized. Your gift can help us fight back. So again, a union trying to make money off of hashtag we feed you. Okay, first off, Okay, I'm going to make a claim, but I'm going to look it up real quick just to make sure I'm right about it before I do. But I am relatively sure in order to join a United States union, you have to be here legally. Is there a citizenship requirement to join a U.S. union? I mean, I would assume so, kind of. Yeah, maybe not. I mean, it would kind of end up being a prerequisite because in order to be in the union, you would have to be working there, and in order to work here in the United States, you are supposed to have a valid form of, what would it be? Residence, I guess, whether it's a green card, whether it's an HB1 visa, whether it's a whether it's actual citizenship. KC, yes, Israel attacked Iran. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see. Where's the rest of their tweet? One of two. Is this supposed to be number 2? Ooh, hang on. Hashtag we feed you. I want to see. Let's look at this. Here we go. Donate today here. Ooh, I've just screwed my algorithm, haven't I? Just this week, federal immigration enforcement actions occurred involving farm workers in several regions of California. Many of us in Southern California are haunted by the videos of a farm worker running through a field chased by immigration agents in the early hours of Tuesday morning. Agents are pursuing workers in vehicles, on foot, and even from helicopters. Workers are scared. The indiscriminate raids and chaotic sweeps have them fearful of going to work as they fear La Migra. Oh my God, will show up. La Migra, La Migra! As they show up and drag them away and separate them from their loved ones. Yet they can't stay home as they desperately need the paycheck. It's peak season for crops like Ventura County strawberries. Farm workers are working piece rate at this time of year. They work as fast as they can in hopes of harvesting a few extra boxes and making a few extra dollars. Okay, let's talk about that. Okay, let's talk about the fact that they are that they aren't working like that. No American citizen would ever agree to that. No citizen of a country would agree to that, or at least a civilized country. Harvesting strawberries is grueling work where abuses are common. With immigration enforcement in the fields, many workers are afraid to speak up. We're fighting back. We are out in the fields talking to workers, holding meetings, sharing information on social media and our texting programs, talking with elected officials, and being part of lawsuits. We are urging employers to protect their employees at their work sites, including limiting access to the interests of the property and demanding to see signed judicial warrants. Your donation can help us protect the people who work so hard to put food on our tables. Isn't there... Who is SEIU? Oh, man, I never even changed the dang page. This is a bank. Oh, no, this is the SEIU, or is the organization the guy Maxine Waters wanted to meet in the Metropolitan Detention Center. I don't know. This just... I get a feeling that if I donated to this, I would get so many Act Blue and Make South Carolina Blue emails. I had another thing to talk about, but I forget what it was. I mean, they literally are. The workers who feed us are not criminals. Most have been here for decades. We need to protect the workers who are already here from being hunted down in the fields. If President Trump is in charge, these raids against farms will stop. Y'all read that, right? If President Trump is in charge, these raids against farms will stop immediately. I mean, exactly, Clyde. Also, I disagree with what Trump said here. I wasn't happy that he said this. Our great farmers and people in the hotel and leisure business have been stating that our very aggressive policy on immigration is taking very good long-term workers away from them, with these jobs being almost impossible to replace. He definitely goes on. He goes on in the post to say something like, I will be discussing this with our immigration people and ending this immediately. He basically insinuates that we're not going to go after people that have been here for a long time and are doing a good job. The problem is that's not what I voted for. I want them all out. I don't want a single illegal immigrant here. And look, that sounds so fucking cold. It really does. Because this is I talked about this the other day in one of the videos. Where does the empathy start? Does the empathy start with the 70-year-old woman who came here in the 50s? I think that math works. Yeah, that math works. And she was either born here or she came here as a 5-month-old and has been doing literally everything correctly. She's been good. She's done this. She's raised a family. Does the empathy start there? Does it stop there? Does it start with the first person that was here, someone that's been here for 3.5 weeks, but is a model citizen, but was just escaping, a death threat in Mexico or something? No, I'll tell you where it starts. It starts with the people that did everything correctly. It starts with the people they just swore in a whole bunch of new citizens a couple weeks ago, and Twitter feeds were flooded with it. It starts with the people that paid the money, that took the time, that did everything, that did the process correctly. Should the process be changed? Probably. Maybe it shouldn't take 3.5 years for someone to be able to come here. I know somebody that has a friend. This is going to be a whole bunch of connections. I know someone that has a friend that married a woman from the Philippines. And I don't know the whole story, so this is gonna sound a little weird, I'm sure. But married a woman from the Philippines, and she hasn't been able to come live here yet because they're still trying to deal with the green card stuff or whatever. And if she comes to even visit, that ends that's a violation. It makes her ineligible to receive a green card. So she hasn't been here in over a year. I don't know if he's seen her or whatever. So, my sympathy is with that. They're trying to do everything correctly, and the system is stopping them from being a married couple. That sucks. But there's definitely something else there. Like what there's part of the story I don't have. Partly because, it's not my friend. There's less of a level of caring there. But the system definitely needs to be reformed. Like I said, it should take 3.5 years, but how long should it take? And also, how are we going to vet you? So if we say you can apply to come to the United States, but we'll let you know in 2.5 years. Well, how do we vet you? Do we call up Mexico and say, hey, we need to know everything you have on Jose Ramirez? Well, we're going to get 1,000 files. And is it going to be correct? Is it going to be honest? If you've heard about what the Mexican president has been saying, I wouldn't trust anything we receive from Mexico. She's literally spent the last week telling the Mexicans here and telling Americans to protest because we have a bill in Congress right now that would raise the it's not recidivism, the tax on money sent to other countries out of the United States. So right now, I think it's taxed at like 0.5%. So, you know, when these people send $1,000 back, we tax them and get, what's 0.5% of $1,000? $5. We get $5 out of that. Where there's a bill in Congress right now to raise it to, I think, 3.5%, or it might be 3.5% now. Remittance, yes, Hokies, and the bill would raise it to 15%. And it's like, absolutely. Why are we letting so much money leave our country? And why is the Mexican president complaining? Because she knows what's going to happen if we increase this tax. Payments out of the United States to citizens in Mexico is like 15% of their GDP. Imagine losing 5% of your GDP to taxes to another country. Of course they're freaking out. Love good beer. And again, what the United Farm Workers is doing here, what this Twitter account is doing here, saying clearly we have to ask who is actually calling the shots. They're trying to they're trying to equalize what this maybe let's call it miscommunication between Trump and Dan. How do you say Dan's last name? Badingo? That sounded racist. Bongino. Because he's in charge of ICE, isn't he? Or something that the FBI is doing with ICE or something like that. Exactly. They enforce their immigration laws. I can't go down there and protest. You know what that reminds me of? It reminds me of y'all remember how, or y'all have heard about how Reagan was a big jokester. Reagan was telling this joke about a Soviet citizen and an American citizen having a conversation. And the American citizen talks about how his country is so much better because he can go into the president's office and say, I don't like the way you're running this country. And the Soviet citizen goes, I can do that too. He goes, really? He goes, absolutely. I can go into the Kremlin and I can tell Nikita Khrushchev, I don't like the way President Reagan is running his country. And that's exactly what's going on in Mexico. The U.S. is the only country not allowed to protest in Mexico. Jeez. Rules for thee and not for me. Okay, I'm going to do one last look at this thing, and then we're going to move over to our final topic of the night. Again, if anyone's got any questions. Holy shit. Order granting plaintiff's application for temporary restraining order. On June. Holy fuck, we have an answer here. Okay. On June 6, 2025, the federal government initiated immigration raids across the city of Los Angeles. Protests swiftly followed, and some individuals involved in these protests were unruly and even violent. Some. State and local law enforcement responded. The following day, President Trump ordered the members of the California National Guard be federalized and thereupon assume control of these forces. At this early stage of the proceeding, the court must determine whether the president followed the constitutionally mandated procedure for his actions. He did not. His actions were illegal, both exceeding the scope of his statutory authority and violating the 10th Amendment to the United States Constitution. He must therefore return control of the California National Guard to the governor of the state of California forthwith. This is getting appealed tonight. The California Army National Guard and the California Air National Guard together, the California National Guard, part of the organized military. Yep, okay. Largest National Guard. Los Angeles Police Chief Jim McDonnell stated that federal officials did not brief his department, which made it difficult to respond to the mobs of people who began to protest. It's honestly, it's really not hard to do that. When ICE calls and says, hey, there's 5,000 people trying to break into the building we're in, the police go, what's the address? There. That's how you respond, dumbass. State and city leaders expressed concern and disapproval. Newsom reportedly stated that the continued chaotic federal sweeps to meet an arbitrary arrest quota are as reckless as they are cruel. Okay. This is the part that I'm really interested in. President Trump intervened in the response to the protests on the evening of June 7th. I need a calendar. 7th is Saturday. Issuing a memorandum to the Secretary of Defense, Attorney General, and Secretary of Homeland Security. Although it did not name California, LA, or any other geographic area, the memo asserted that numerous incidents of violence and disorder have recently occurred and threatened to continue in response to the enforcement of federal law by ICE and other United States government personnel. It continued, to the extent that protests or acts of violence directly inhibit the execution of the laws, they constitute a form of rebellion against the authority of the government of the United States. The memo explained that due to these incidents and credible threats of continued violence, President Trump was calling into federal service members and units of the National Guard under 10 U.S. Code Section 12406 to temporarily protect ICE and other federal functions, including enforcement of federal law and to protect federal property at locations where protests began. Protests against these functions are occurring or are likely to occur based on current threat assessments and planned operations. This is President Trump further directed Secretary Hesketh to coordinate with the governors of the states and the National Guard's Bureau in identifying and ordering into federal service the appropriate members and units of the National Guard. Calling for at least 2,000 guards to be on duty 60 days or the discretion of Hesketh. Hesketh issued an order that same night, attaching the June 7 memo and announcing that 2,000 members of the California National Guard were being called into federal service effective immediately for a period of 60 days. Iran's holy shit. Lily, I agree, and that's why I said in most of my videos. I'm curious what his rationale is going to be about that. Defense did not notify Governor Newsom of their intent to federalize the California National Guard. Governor Newsom only learned of the June 7 DOD order from the Adjutant General after the Adjutant General received it. He relinquished command to the commander of the U.S. Northern Command. I think that's NORAD. And thereafter, the commander of the U.S. Northern Command, not the governor, has issued all orders to the federalized National Guard. National Guard troops arrived in L.A. on June 8th, but it was not clear what role they were to play or what orders they were provided. And, quote, there were concerns that they did not have the equipment or training necessary to handle the situation. Again, so this is what's dumb about that. That's bullshit. One of the number one things National Guard units are trained to do is to basically handle civilians in this country. It's their primary role is to be there as like a secondary force against problems. And it's a terrible way of explaining it, but I'll give you an example. National Guard deployed during COVID in Minnesota, and their primary role was to keep people inside. Whether or not that's a good thing, obviously I think it's a bad thing and a stupid thing, but their primary role were to act as police. Literally, the National Guard knows how to be police. That's so dumb. So it was quiet. That afternoon, protests increased to about 3,500, particularly near the MDC, where the National Guard was deployed. Again, the MDC is a federal building. It's called the Roybal R. something building. It's a federal building. It's where they were supposed to be. Every picture we've seen of the National Guard or video has been them protecting federal property, which they're allowed to do. They're allowed to be called up to do under the section 12604 of U.S. Code Title 10, and protecting ICE agents, which, in my opinion, is kind of a big read into that, but it's still stuff they're allowed to do. LAPD and LASD and the California Highway Patrol chips deployed to the protest area as protesters blocked Highway 101. They didn't do shit, though. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Legal standard. A party seeking a TRO must establish 1, a likelihood of success on the merits, 2, a likelihood of irreparable harm absent preliminary relief, and 3, that the balance of equities tips in his favor, and 4, that an injunction is in the public interest. Alternatively, if the party demonstrates that the balance of hardship tips sharply in his favor, it need only show that serious questions going to the merits were raised, and that the other 2 elements are satisfied. The courts began with the likelihood of success in the merits and concluded that plaintiffs are likely to succeed on at least some of their claims, then proceeds to the remaining winter factors. Likelihood of success on the merits. Plaintiffs bring 3 claims: an ultra vires claim, a 10th Amendment claim, and an APA claim. Okay, I don't remember what ultra vires is. Is legal concept referring to actions taken by an individual, corporation, or government entity that exceeds the. Okay, so the first claim is that Trump acted beyond his authority, but only rely on the first 2 for purposes of their motion for a temporary restraining order. Plaintiffs contend that President Trump exceeded his lawful authority in 3 ways. First, although he cited 10 U.S.C. 12406, which permits the president to federalize, none of the 3 statutory conditions for invoking the statute were met. I don't think so. Second, here we go. Through the Militia Act of 1903, Congress authorized the president to call into federal service members and units of the National Guard for any state, but only if 1, the United States or any of the Commonwealths or possessions is invaded or is in danger of invasion by a foreign nation, there's a rebellion or danger of a rebellion against the authority of the government of the United States, or the president is unable with the regular forces to execute the laws of the United States. So Trump has definitely got grounds on 2 and 3 here. And this is one of the reasons why Breyer was questioning the DOJ attorneys so much on rebellion, because I actually think he was trying to. I think Breyer wanted to fine for Trump. I think it's why he spent so much time, according to the tweets and the information I have about what went on in that courtroom, why he spent so much time asking about rebellion is I think he was trying to find a way to find a rebellion. But the problem is that statutorily, rebellion is a lot more like the Civil War and a lot less like what was happening in California. We can all agree that it kind of looks like a rebellion, but a rebellion kind of requires a little more power behind it. And so because the LAPD were responding and were actually doing something, it looks a little less like a rebellion and more like just an out-of-control riot. I think if the LAPD had genuinely not been doing anything, then I think they've got a much better argument for rebellion here. But I think with the police powers of the state doing what they could, or at least looking like they were. And again, all this judge can really do is rely on what the sheriffs are saying and what the chief of police for the LAPD was saying. He can't really just go and say, okay, well, let me look at all these photos and all these videos, because either A, they weren't submitted to evidence, they weren't part of the memo, or they're not enough to show what was accurately happening across the entire thing. All they really show is that Thursday and Friday were really bad. Well, he activated the National Guard on Saturday. So if everything was kind of dying down a little bit, which, if I remember, again, it's been almost a week, I'm relatively sure that they were dying down a little bit. It wasn't by any means peaceful, and there was still a whole bunch of yelling and a whole bunch of breaking shit. But if I remember correctly, a lot of the fire and stuff like that had stopped by Saturday. If anyone's got anything else, let me know. Trump nor has specified by citation to the statute which of these conditions justified. So this is the judge basically saying they were just kind of trying to have their entire bases covered. Lily, that's the thing that scares me the most about all of this is if this doesn't get appealed with a final decision tomorrow, basically, a Saturday could be terrible. And what sucks is because Trump, because they've got this no against them, how bad do things have to get before they can try this again and say, you know what, fine, this time we are right. Defendants also challenged whether the court can even properly evaluate whether these conditions were met, asserting that 12406 reserved that this determination to the president's discretion alone. I agree with that. This presents a preliminary question for the court to resolve before addressing the merits. Okay. It is emphatically to the province and duty of the judicial department to say what the law is. Marbury v. Masson, one of the hallmarks of Supreme Court precedent. Thus, federal courts have no more right to decline the exercise of jurisdiction which is given them than to usurp that which is not given. The Supreme Court has recognized only limited exceptions to this general rule, one of which is known as the political question doctrine. The doctrine recognizes that certain questions in their nature political, or which are by the Constitution and law submitted to the executive, can never be made in this court. The political question doctrine is, however, a narrow exception to the general rule that the judiciary has a responsibility to decide cases properly before it, even those it would gladly avoid. Interesting. So, something I can tell you is Judge Breyer did not write this. His clerk wrote this. Judge Breyer agreed. Judge Breyer got up there. He brought his clerks in the room and he said, "This is my decision. These are the cases I'm thinking of. I need a case that does A. I need a case that does B. I need a case that does C. If they are good cases, use them. If they are not, you need to let me know why they are not, and if I need to change my ruling." Because they don't know everything. They don't. Part of the clerk's job is to help the judge. And so I find it interesting that he included that language, even those it would gladly avoid, saying that he wishes he didn't have to make this decision. Baker v. Carr is the canonical case examining this doctrine. In Baker, the court proposed 6 ways in which a case might present a political question and thus be unfit for judicial review. If there is a textually demonstrable constitutional commitment of the holy shit, this is boring as hell. One second. I want to see if we have a response from the Justice Department yet. Justice Department. Probably come from the U.S. Department of Justice Twitter accounts. Let's see. I don't see anything. Judge Breyer. Hey, I don't see anything from the Trump administration. That's too bad. I'm curious what they're going to say. So the Department of Justice said that the third Baker question, if it would be impossible to decide the issue without an initial policy determination of a kind clearly for non-judicial discretion. Basically meaning if you can't decide if it's a political question and you have to then go look into something that you do not have a right to look into, being the judicial branch, then it's a political question. Who does this appeal to? So this is United States District Court in Northern District of California. That should be the appeals court of. Let's see. Actually, it might be to the 9th District. Who do? I think it's the Court of Appeal. Yes. So here's the problem, though. It is the Court of Appeals. The problem is that the Court of Appeals is not going to go. It's not going to investigate the matter. They don't look at the facts of the case. They look at this order. They look at the transcript, and then they decide. So you can appeal for several reasons. And I'm not going to tell you what the reasons are because I don't remember a lot of them. I also don't remember what a lot of the standards of review are. I will tomorrow, but I genuinely didn't think we'd get this today, so I didn't review it. I know that one of them is, let's see, if a judge violates his discretion. So if a judge says, this evidence isn't admissible, he can say that. But if the Court of Appeals decides that the evidence should have been heard, then they'll order a retrial. The other stuff I really don't remember. Let's see. For the president to exercise his discretion as to how many National Guard members he uses to federalize, there must first be an invasion, rebellion, or an inability to execute the laws. Consider as an analogy, which applies if an officer of an executive agency whose appointment to office is required to be made by the president dies, resigns, or is unable to perform the function and duties of the office. The president's discretion in what to do next does not mean that the president can unilaterally and without judicial review declare that a vacancy exists in order to fill it. So that's ipse dixit, cart before the horse. Okay, man. So this is why it took so long, because they had to type all this shit up. For the foregoing reason, the court grants plaintiff motion for a TRO. Defendants are temporarily enjoined from deploying members of the California National Guard in Los Angeles. So actually, okay. There's actually two things that could happen. So I don't think the TRO gets overturned. But a TRO is only done, and I did a video about this a while ago. A TRO is only issued prior to the hearing. So the case still has to happen. The TRO is being issued because the court is saying that we think you're likely to win on the merits. So we're going to go ahead and enjoin this from happening, and then we'll hear the case. Defendants are directed to return control of the California National Guard to Governor Newsom. The court further stays this order until noon tomorrow. Plaintiffs are ordered to post a nominal bond of $100 within 24 hours. The bond shall be filed in the clerk's office and be deposited in the registry of the court. If said bond is not posted, this order shall be dissolved. Defendants are further ordered to show cause why preliminary injunctions should not issue. A hearing on this order. Okay. Whoa. Hearing on this order to show cause will be held on June 20th at 10 a.m. Plaintiffs' moving papers shall be filed no later than June 16th. Defendants' opposition shall be no later than June 18th. Plaintiffs shall reply. Reply shall be due the 19th. Okay, so this is what's happening. Let me double check this one thing. Okay, so this order is not it. This order has third point here. This court further stays this order until noon tomorrow. So this order is not in effect until 12 p.m. tomorrow. So my guess is that is to prevent any sort of like crazy night riot from happening. And again, I mean, if Gavin Newsom doesn't pay the court $100, then the order will go away. I doubt the state of California forgets to pay $100. There's going to be a hearing on June 20th, which is next Friday, as to whether or not the preliminary injunction should not be issued. And the 16th, which is Monday, Gavin Newsom in California have to file their motion for preliminary injunction and their memorandums in support of. Donald Trump and the Justice Department have to file their answers by the 18th, which is Wednesday. And the plaintiffs' reply, this is interesting. The plaintiffs' reply to their reasons are due on June 19th, which is a federal holiday. It's Juneteenth, guys. Don't forget to celebrate the freedom of the slaves on June 19th, guys. Great day. So ordered. Yeah, so damn. Charles R. Breyer. So now that if hang on. Oh, man. If you what? Hoagies, I can't read this. If you this to stay, this to stop crazy rioting, why would you end it? How does not start crazy rioting? Hoagies, can you retype that? I'm just checking something real quick, guys. If sending the guard back to the state right away would lead to things getting worse, so we delay it. How does things not get worse when you do return at afternoon? Because daytime brings less because if you don't have soldiers there with guns that are duty bound to protect the offices at the time that you're more crime happens at nighttime than it does during the day. So if the troops aren't there at night, then I think it's more likely that they would that stuff would pop up tonight rather than things maybe popping up tomorrow. Lily, I'm up for that. Let's get the armed IRS agents to go protect the ICE agents. What am I trying to figure out? There we go. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Okay. So what's going to happen is the actual hearing for this case is Friday and next Friday. And the decision of that is what becomes appealable. I am pretty sure that they can file an interlocutory appeal, which is an appeal done prior to, normally in order to appeal a judge's decision, it has to be the decision has to be a final decision on the merits of the case. It has to be a final verdict on the merits of the case. But if you file an interlocutory appeal, I don't want to get this wrong. I am relatively positive that if you file an interlocutory appeal, which is you basically saying, yeah, an interlocutory appeal is an appeal of a non-final order made during the course of litigation before the case is fully resolved. So this would be prior to next Friday. So they could file an interlocutory appeal of this TRO and kick it across the street to the Court of Appeals in San Francisco and let the Court of Appeals decide if the judge erred. But I think the smarter thing would be, especially if Trump's going after political points here, the smarter thing would be to say, okay, Gavin, here's your National Guard back. We'll see you next Friday in court and see what happens. See what happens this weekend to the federal buildings, to the cars, to people walking up and down the street. Let's see what happens. And you attach all of that. You attach the videos, you attach the images, you attach that as exhibits to your motion that's due on the 18th, and see what the judge says on the 20th. What's up, Brucey? Batman's here. Icanless is going to bed. Good night, buddy. So who's on the hook to fix damage to the federal buildings? California or all of us? I think California should pay as they let it happen and refuse to help. I mean, probably whoever the federal buildings are insured through. Sleep is for the weak or those that work in the morning, like me. So we're actually going to be wrapping this up. Guys, the last thing I want to talk about is, remember the lovely New York Attorney General that tried to string Donald Trump up for the dumbest shit ever. And it's too bad that Mark of Reality isn't here because this is his favorite thing that ever happened in law. Remember when the New York legislature passed a law just so that they could try Donald Trump for, just so that Karen J or whatever her name was could sue Donald Trump. Remember that? And then remember when Letitia James continued to drag his name through the mud, trying to say that he was doing all these illegal business dealings when so was everyone else? Oh, Donald Trump said his property was worth $1.2 billion. And 20 years later, we decided it was actually worth $700 million. So that was a lie. You know who decided the money was worth the property was worth $1.2 billion? The bank who paid the loan. That shit still pisses me off. So Letitia James is, I won't say is, but might be going to prison. She might be going to jail. And why is that? Well, because Letitia James has committed this beautiful thing that I actually know quite a bit about, because it's actually in my field. Mortgage fraud. Sorry, I had to remember what I was trying to say. Letitia James has likely committed mortgage fraud. Now, how so? Well, when you apply for a loan to buy a house, they ask you, hey, are you going to live there? Or is this a second property? Is it an investment property? Is it a second home? All different things. They come with these things called riders. And riders are addendums to your contract. The most popular one is called the PUD rider, the Planned Unit Development rider. And basically what it says is you have an HOA and you have to pay that HOA. If you don't pay that HOA, then the HOA can foreclose on your house. They can put a lien on your house and foreclose. That's what the PUD rider says. And throughout your loan package, and I can tell you there's a lot of them because I did one today that had 4 of them. There are questions that you sign and are notarized and all that shit. And basically, several times it asks, are you going to be the primary resident? So Letitia James signed a power of attorney authorizing her niece, Shamise Thompson Hairston, what a name, to execute the purchase with documents stating James intended to occupy the property as her primary residence. Now, why do people do this? Why? Well, because if you're gonna be the primary resident, if it's going to be your primary residence, then you get a better rate. Your interest rate gets better. Now, not a lot better. You know, in some cases it goes from, let's say, 6.9 to 6.7. Like, that's pretty good, but it doesn't change your monthly payment by that much. I know, Lily, you can't make this shit up. So how do we know that she committed mortgage fraud? Maybe she meant to be the primary resident. Well, you can't hold her position as New York's Attorney General without having your primary resident in New York. So mortgage documents require the property to be occupied as the primary residence within 60 days. So by October 30th, 2023. And for at least 1 year. So so you have to be the primary resident to continue that mortgage rate and all that shit for 1 year. Wait, was this a Pulte house? Oh, this is hilarious. So Pulte is a builder, and Pulte is who what's the word? Referred her. So Pulte referred her to the Federal Housing Finance Agency, who basically their job to investigate mortgage fraud. Well, theirs in the FBI, but they're like the specialists in it. And so that the time that she was living in New York as the AG and prosecuting Trump, which she had to be living in New York to do because she was the AG, so she had to have her primary residence in New York, overlapped with that year, which means she couldn't have fulfilled the year-long requirement to be a primary resident in the state of Virginia or at her home in Virginia, because she couldn't do both. You can't be a primary resident in two different states. Guilty. She fucking did it. This is even greater. Pulte alleges wire fraud, mail fraud, bank fraud, and false statements to a financial institution, citing lower interest rates of 0.5 to 0.75 less for primary residence compared to investment properties. These federal offenses could carry penalties like fines or up to 30 years in prison. Holy shit, she's going to get convicted of wire fraud. This is wild. Let's see. Oh, but hang on, guys. That's just her Norfolk, Virginia property. We have more. Brooklyn, New York property from 01 to 21. Claim Pulte and financial expert Sam Antar alleged James misrepresented a 5-family Brooklyn property as having 4 units in mortgage applications and building permits spanning 2 decades to qualify for loans restricted to properties with 4 or fewer units, which offer better interest rates. A 2001 certificate of occupancy from the New York City Department of Buildings lists the property as having 5 units, which Antar claims remains legally binding. Details, Antar posted 10 mortgage documents, none listing the property as 5 units, and noted 6 electric service designations, suggesting 5 units plus a common area. Pulte claims this misrepresentation allowed James to meet conforming loan requirements for better terms. That's another case of mortgage fraud. And it could also, so again, just because if you commit mortgage fraud, you aren't only committing mortgage fraud, you're also committing wire fraud, mail fraud, bank fraud. Historical mortgage with her father. Pulte alleges that in 1983 and 2000, James and her father signed mortgage documents for a property listing them as husband and wife, potentially to meet lending requirements. This is cited as part of the pattern of misrepresentation through legal experts note. Though, okay, so some people are claiming that the 83 claim is just being added to inflame people because it's past the statute of limitations. Let's see. American Irish Historical Society case. A separate allegation links James to a nonprofit, the American Irish Historical Society, because she looks Irish. Accused of inflating his Manhattan property value, $80 million claim versus $20 million actual, to secure a $3 million private mortgage from board member James Doyle. Doyle's 2024 lawsuit alleges James used her office to protect the nonprofit, possibly due to fundraising events or campaign donations from board members. Great. We have official malfeasance. The lawsuit requests a subpoena for James. Yep. Okay. So James's attorney argues that the residency declaration was a clerical error in a 2-page power of attorney, contradicted by James's clear statements to the mortgage broker 2 weeks earlier. This property will not be my primary residence. Lowell claims the property was purchased for her niece's primary residence, with James providing financial assistance. And the broker understood this. Emails and a separate loan application form support James's claim that she did not intend to live there. So here's the problem, though. Like this is the problem with that. When you go and buy a house, and I'm sure a lot of y'all own houses, y'all remember buying houses. There are a lot of steps that are taken. And one of the steps that are taken is at the table, the attorney, if you're in an attorney state, or the title agent, if you're in a title state, goes. you have this is your, they pull out a CD, which is a loan document that shows basically your interest rate, your loan payment, your monthly payment, and a breakdown of everything in that, that you're paying for. I'm going to pull one up real quick. This is a model CD. Y'all get a little bit of my spiel. So what most attorneys will do is they will pull this out and they'll go, so this is your CD. This is your closing disclosure. It kind of shows you basically where your money's going. So this is what I want to show you. We have here a 30-year fixed rate conventional loan for $162,000. Here's your interest rate. Here's your monthly payments. You'll see during your first 7 years, you'll have a payment of about $1,050. And then your 8th through your 30th year, you'll pay a little bit less, about $970. And that's because you're losing your PMI, which is mortgage insurance. You have to pay mortgage insurance, as I'm sure your agent has told you. You have to pay mortgage insurance because you're not up to that 20% cap on equity. So your mortgage company, of course, is afraid that you're just going to run away with the house. Here's your cash to close. You've paid that. We're all good. And then they go through this. And this shows the loan fees, the firm's fees, recording fees. Holy shit, $40 to record a deed in fucking 2013. Holy crap. Homeowners insurance, HOA, and then I never showed these. I don't ever talk to anyone about this shit. But further in this loan package is a document that says occupancy affidavit. And it's a list. In fact, let's see if I can find one. Home loan occupancy affidavit. Images. I want one that I use. I'm not gonna be able to find it. Oh well. So they pull it. It's an affidavit including your loan package. And again, anyone that's bought a house has seen it. And it basically says, here are the 4 different ways you can own a home. And they have a check on the one that you select that is going to be your thing. So, damn, I really wanted to. Hang on, if this loads in, I might be able to use it. I should have done this earlier, shouldn't I have? See if this works. Ooh, most of these are just like lease things. Whatever. Hang on, this might work. Oh well. So it's basically a document that shows, the 3 or 4 different ways you can occupy the house, and it checks off whichever one it is. The first option is usually primary residence, and the attorney or the title agent at the time goes, and this is like 101. Whether it's your 10th house or your first house, everyone asks, "Are you going to be the primary residence of this house?" And if it's a POA, which this was, especially if it's an attorney asking the question, the attorney is supposed to ask, is the person that you have power of attorney for going to be the primary resident of this house? And at that point, clearly what happened here is the niece said yes, which makes it mortgage fraud. Like, it's very clear. So the fact that her attorney thinks that she can just kind of throw this off as, oh, it was a mistake, is, I think it's bullshit. I hope that attorney has good E&O insurance. The other thing, I don't really care about the other ones. The Brooklyn thing, I think, has teeth. Apparently, there's several documents that come out Brooklyn since as late as 2004, showing that there were complaints about there being 5 units instead of 4 units. So I don't know. I think, I mean, she's not going to jail. None of these people are going to jail. Oh, hang on, guys. We're going to pause this. We have a statement from Secretary of State, clearly Donald Trump's best appointee. Tonight, Israel took unilateral action against Iran. We are not involved in strikes against Iran, and our top priority is protecting American forces in the region. Israel advised us they believe this action was necessary for its self-defense. President Trump and the administration have taken all necessary steps to protect our forces and remain in close contact with our regional partners. Let me be clear. Iran should not target U.S. interests or personnel. So this is kind of, this is a little worrisome as well, because this is kind of like a backhanded, slightly embarrassing. This is kind of a backhanded, like, attempt almost. It feels sort of like a war hockey way of trying to get into war, is Rubio, who, again, I think we can all agree, Rubio has been a very, very impressive Secretary of State, doing a very good job across the board in all of his, 933 federal jobs now? But it does feel like he's telling Iran, do not attack us. This is not our fault, but we will attack you if you attack us. So it concerns me. So what are our interests in personnel? Well, do we have personnel over in Iran? I mean, sure, we're out of Afghanistan now. We're out of Iraq. Wherever our closest personnel is, which I don't know. I'm sure there are some people that know. As long as Iran doesn't attack them, we should be good. But let's see if that happens. Okay, guys, I think that's going to be it. I hope this was enjoyable. I hope everyone had a fun time. Wicked, thank you so much for the raid. Jay, thank you for popping in, man. I really appreciate all of the advice, all the help, everything. All y'all lurkers, Hokies, Lily, Clyde, whether you talk, whether you don't, whether you watch the videos, whether all you do is open them and press a like. I am beyond appreciative. Again, everybody, if you have any questions, if y'all are curious about things, send me a tweet. You can DM me on Twitter. There, my DMs are completely open. You can join my Discord, which I'm dropping in the where is it? Here it is, which I'm dropping in here right now. Follow me on Twitter, Kings Advisors _ Go subscribe to King Advisors. And everyone, I will see. We'll have videos. We will probably have a video tomorrow, at least one. Whether it's in the morning or not, I don't know, but we'll see. But of course, King's Advisors will be live throughout the weekend playing a whole bunch of video games. I hope y'all have fun. I can't wait to see y'all wherever I see you. And everyone stay safe. This is a dangerous time. And I don't really mean that to sound like Star Wars, but there's some dangerous shit going on. And I think we all need to stay vigilant. We all need to stay wary of what's going on. And don't go out of your way, especially this weekend. You know, Saturday is going to be a shit show in every major city or small city across the country. Don't go out and try to incite people. Don't go out and try to do dumb stuff. It's not worth it. They're going to have their 5 minutes of fame that they're going to get paid $200 for 3 hours for. And then they're going to off back to their boring ass lives. It's no reason to go end up in a prison jail cell for the night. And that's not legal advice. Peace out, guys.